Now we could get to the Veteran Spotlight with Trustee Geezer.
Thank you very much. We've been doing this throughout the year. We've been having a Veteran Spotlight where we introduce the veterans within our community to tell us a little bit about their service. And today we've got a very interesting one. All the veterans that have spoken to us during our meetings have been heroes, and they've all shared with us important history of our country, and why it's a great country, and how they have helped keep it and keep us safe. Today, I think we kick it up a couple notches. Joining us today is Mr. Dom Errichiello. He is a resident at Windsor Park, and as it turns out, he is the father of one of my longtime friends. I didn't realize. He spent over 2 years in the Army from 1943 to 1945. He was in the infantry in the 1st Division. The 1st Division, like at Cantini, they have that nice museum that they just redid. He was part of the D-Day invasion at Omaha Beach. He was captured during the Battle of the Bulge. He received a Silver Star, a Bronze Star, and a Purple Heart. And he still has the shrapnel to prove it. And it is a great honor to welcome you to our Veteran Spotlight, Mr. Dom Errichiello.
First of all, I apologize to this illustrious group. I was coming here, and the door slammed in my head and whacked me right across my eye, and here I am with a Band-Aid. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry I messed up your meeting schedule, and so forth. Now, my buddy Chris said to me, Dom, now you only got about 5 to 8 minutes to talk. I said, boy, my last name alone will take 5 minutes. Now, anyhow, to make a long story short, I really mean, I was in 2.5 years of the war, and I don't know how many people know anything about World War II. I know they're all young guys here, so you know nothing about World War II, I don't think. Is anybody here knows about World War II? No. Okay, but anyhow, I would really like to tell my story of World War II. You're probably not going to see too many guys that came from the war anymore. There aren't that many more left. So I take the honor to talk to you guys. I talked to the Westin Hotel downtown. I talked to WN, WGN, WMQ, WBBM, WIND, and I was on TV several times. So this is now new to me, except with this bang on my head. But I'd like to talk to you a lot about the World War II, but I don't have that much time. I wish I did. And I was there for 2.5 years. I was in D-Day. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with D-Day. D-Day is June 6, 1944. Started at 6:30 in the morning, and I was in the 3rd wave. The 3rd means that the groups of troops would come in from the warships. The warships had the LCIs, which is landing craft infantry, and they hang on the outside of the warships. When you get closer to shore, then the warships take over and they drop all the GIs on the sides, which are the LCIs that are hanging on the side. They lower us in the water, and lo and behold, you know, we're carrying 26.5 pounds on our back, and we jump when that ramp, if you know what an LCI is, it's got a big ramp in the front of it. When that thing comes down, you get your ass out of there because they're shooting from all over. There were shells flying all over that place. Anyhow, it's just, there's no kids here, so I could talk about a little more detail. But the jumping in that water, and the 4 feet of water, we would carry the rifles above our heads. And of course, being so tall as I am, I was up to my chest in water, and I had my rifle up in the air. And as we come out into the water, and when they come out into the water, we got hit by bombs and shells and you name it. So we lost 2,300 GIs around, in the water where I was at. So I was in the infantry group, the Red Army. It's the Red Army Division. You guys ever heard of the Red Wood? I'm sure you must have heard of the Red One. The big red one, you know. And I would wish that I could give a lot more on this talk, but I know my time is limited here. But I thought the next best thing was to bring my jacket, which you'll never see one like this again, I don't think. And what it does, I'll tell you exactly what it is so I can explain it. So if you ever see one of these things, you'll know what they're all about. Okay. This is what they call a Eisenhower jacket. Okay? You see that? Eisenhower jacket. And what this is, the Eisenhower jacket was given to us by General Eisenhower when he was a general. And the lanyards on the side here were given by General Charles de Gaulle of France for liberating the French people. And on this, too close to see my back, I'm sorry.
No, it's
Okay. On these ribbons, I could talk about them all night here, and still won't have time to cover 2.5 years. But these medals, the lanyards are from the French. The medals here are from every war group or every battle that we had, starting from Saint-Lô, France, Marigny, Caen, and on and on and on and on. So we went from the French coast into Belgium, Holland, got into Germany, and then that's when all the hell broke loose. But anyhow, every battle that we were in, we get a little star, and you put it on the ribbon. So if you look at my ribbon and stars, you'll see about 15 different battles that we had. We never stopped to eat. We didn't have any time to cook. We should take our helmets off, take the scoop of snow, put it in the helmet, make a little fire, burn the helmet up a little bit, heat it up, and that's how we got our water. We didn't get any water. We had a hard time. If I can get down to some of the salient points of my meeting, of my presentation here, let me tell you, I got the Silver Star. We went up we climbed up the vines of a tree that was dislocated from where he was sitting from the bombing of the Allies. So we climbed up, myself and Lieutenant Sykes, we climbed up these vines, and we had pockets of grenades on us, and we crawled on the ground toward the boxes of pillboxes. We climbed up on those pillboxes on the side of the box. There were these slits in front of it, and they couldn't see us climbing from the sides, but those slits, they were knocking us off one by one. As our guys were coming off the LCIs, they're shooting them like crazy. They're popping off like, well, it was very bad. So we would climb up the side of the pillbox, and we dropped grenades into the vents. And you could hear the screaming when they got hit inside there. And when they finally came out, there was just a bunch of kids. They were all French kids that were directed to the GIs and shooting them one by one, our guys. But anyhow, that's one part of the battle, and that's the Silver Star. And the other one was we went from Saint-Lô, Marigny, Caen. We went to Liège, Belgium. We went from house to house, and every time we went through a house and got rid of the Germans out of there, well, we'd lose 2 or 3 guys. They'd be hiding and taking our guys one by one. But anyhow, so that was pretty tough. I don't know how much farther I can go with this thing. I wish you guys could ask me a lot of questions, and I'll answer them the best way I know how.
Were you in Germany when that was happening?
Sir?
Were you in Germany when that was?
Absolutely.
I mean, when you were going house to house?
No, we started in France.
Okay.
From the beach, you're correct. We started from the beach, and we went from house to house. As we got closer into the the German area, we had to clean up all the homes that were around the town, and there were a lot of them that were hiding in cabinets, hiding under desks, and they took all this food and hid the food in their basements because they didn't want us to have it. And we never had a hot meal. I didn't have a hot meal a year and a half. So just to get off on a minute, for a minute, let me get off of that for a second. It was Christmas time, July 1944, Christmas time. And of course, we all know it was Christmas time. And the word came out that we're going to get a nice big steak dinner. Oh boy. So they would take it off the line. They get us off the line. They would, 2 or 3 at a time, come back, they would go forward. We had a nice steak dinner that night, and after the dinner, one of the guys said, "Boy, where'd this steak come from?" He said, "Well, that came from one of the horses that we got in Germany. They killed a horse and got the steaks from the horse." That's about the time everybody was thrown up. But yeah, that was some fun. I mean, it was really tough. But anyhow, so the Germans were very, very hard to get. I'll tell you. When we got into Germany, well, I got to tell you this. When I got captured, there was if you know anything about the Battle of the Bulge, the Battle of the Bulge is nothing more than the line of the Allied and the enemy, and the enemy were at that time they were highest number of their GIs were at that point, and they forced us out, which formed a bulge, and that's where I got captured. But in this bulge is now called the Battle of the Bulge. That was the beginning of the end of Hitler. So the word got out, no more prisoners. We will take these prisoners and bring them to the apple orchard and kill them there, get rid of them there. There was, when we got into one of the craters that one of the Allied bombings made, they forced 9 of us, think about this a minute, they took 9 of us and forced us into the crater with bayonets. There was 7 of them and 9 of us. So, you know, they took all our guns away naturally, and they were poking us with the bayonets and says, you know, come, and force us into the crater. One of the GIs, one of our GIs, out of our 9, he was of a German descent. Now, if you talked Italian, I would understand you. I mean, I'd answer back, but I can understand you. This one of our GIs of German descent, he heard them talk and say, when it gets a little lighter out, we're going to take them back and get rid of them at the apple orchard. When he heard that in German, he told us, we were sitting together there in the hole, he said, "Listen, this is what I heard, and we're not going to see daylight anymore. When I holler go, let's run." And we're all going to run. We don't know who's going to come out of the thing alive, but we got to make a break. They're not going to take us alive back to the apple orchard. So when he hollered go in English, we all jumped in different directions. Myself and Lieutenant Sykes ran different directions, and all the other 7 guys got killed. They got shot up. And the guy of German descent, he was the first guy to get hit. So he never come out of it alive. So myself and Lieutenant Sykes come out of this thing alive. And that was the part of the capture. They took us in when we flew out of the crater, and we went into the front lines here. We ran right into a bunch of tanks. And the tanks were labeled so you could see they were American tanks, Allied tanks. And the guys up at in the tanks said, shoot them, you know, get rid of them. And we talked to them in English, said, "Hey, wait a minute, we're American GIs." And one guy said, "Wait a minute, let's let these guys talk." At that time of the war, a lot of the Germans that killed our guys took the uniforms and put them on. So you never knew if you were talking to a GI or a German GI. So when they got all these uniforms put on and they went in the back of the lines, they played havoc. They played havoc on there. They blew up our munitions tank. They blew up our munitions cases of oh God, how much can I say? There was bombs that were laying up flat. They fired those bombs. They'd light them up and they'd run off and they'd kill a whole bunch of GIs that were in the back room. Now you don't read all this. You didn't see all this, and I don't think you even heard about it. Let me get back for a minute to the LCI. When we got out of the LCI, when the sergeant at the end of the LCI said, "When I holler go, well, let's run," shells or no shells flying all over the place. We all ran out into the water, chest high for me, and I saw arms, I saw legs, guys' faces ripped off, noses ripped off. But anyhow, that was brutal. Now, how do we get out of this thing alone? Myself and Lieutenant Sykes, we pushed all the dead GIs in the water. We pushed them all together, and then him and I got underneath these dead GIs. And the good guy upstairs didn't want me yet, so we got out of that pretty good. But anyhow, that was tough. Now, we could have saved a lot of those GIs had they given us warning that there were going to be condoms, rubbers in plain English, given to the medic. There was always a medic on the back of the LCI. There was about 35, 38 GIs sitting in the LCI, which is the LCI, it's a little landing craft infantry. The LCI had no other place for us to move or turn. You couldn't sit, you couldn't do nothing, you otherwise stand up. When the guy blew the whistle, we had to run out. Now, nobody told us that the medic in the back had a handful of these rubbers. So they got these rubbers, and we knew nothing about it. So the guys that ran into the water with their rifles, to balance themselves, they would put the rifle into the muck, the mud. Well, when they went to shoot their guns, they didn't fire. They got all plugged up, and I saw guys' arms, their noses ripped off, eyes ripped out, and they were sitting right there along me. It was just brutal. Then finally the word got out that, hey, get those rubbers that medic's got back there and put them in your pocket and carry them through the war. And we finally got a hold of some of them, and we got saved a few of the guys. And that was a godsend at that time.
Mr.
Anyhow.
Errichiello, do you mind if I ask you a quick question?
Yes, sir.
Did you finish the war and then keep tabs on a lot of friends and people that were, in battle with you? Do you kept in touch with those folks over the years?
There was only about 8 people that came back with me that were in the war. Now, I'm not being critical now, but when I see all these soldiers and whatever, service people, with all these ribbons, I say to myself, how the hell did you get all these ribbons? And I asked the guy, where did you get these ribbons? Well, we got them when I was overseas. Did you see any war battles? Did you see any part of the war? Well, we never got into the war. Now, let's get all these battles then. But anyhow, that's beside the point. But there was only one guy that, DeMarco, that was from Brooklyn. He came out alive, and we found out that he, are the girls here? No. Well, I got to tell you this. When a bomb hits the ground, it goes forward, and then the dispersion of the shrapnel goes forward. So when you hear these bombs, you can hear the bombs coming. So we all hit the ground. When we hit the ground, I hit here, and these other guys hit forward, and this buddy of mine, DeMarco, he was in front of the dispersion of the shell, and they ripped all his personal stuff, ripped them off. So we took our jackets and covered the bleeding. I don't know if he ever made it alive, but he had no more, he had no pecker or nothing. Everything was gone, and it was very bad.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I'm afraid to ask any. One thing for sure, Dominic, you're
Yes,
the
sir.
most honest person we ever had come up here.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I love, my grandfather fought World War II. He was
Okay.
he was Pacific Theater. He's since passed on. But I love the personal touch on this story. Have you ever thought about like recording your stories, and so that because I'm a school teacher, and one thing I'm concerned about going forward is that the younger generations, my generation even, like we're farther removed from you, and you read about, Battle of the Bulge in a textbook, you move on, right?
You never heard this.
No. And have you thought about, recording your story so that it can continue on for
Yes.
years to come?
Yes. One of the service groups from California came over to see me one day. We made an arrangement to see each other. And to make a long story short, they videoed me on Channel Lake in Antioch. And they interviewed me there. And it'll be in the next issue. And it's a magazine that's strictly Army personnel, and it'll give all my story. I got copies of my story here, but you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear all that.
Well, and there, David, I was just last week, I missed the last meeting because I was in New Orleans, but while I was there, I visited the National World War II Museum, and they have a lot of video oral histories from servicemen. And one of the interesting things they do, the day I was there, they have servicemen who served to tell their stories, so you
Right.
can go up and ask them. The day I was there were two people who were part of the Pacific Theater.
Now, right here in your backyard, Catigny. I'll be there on 11/11, giving another speech, and Catigny has just refurbished and they redesigned the entire area. Has anybody ever been in Catigny? Well, have you been there lately? Okay, have you seen all the changes? Right, they did a good job, didn't they? Okay, so I'm gonna go there, they have to come back for 11/11 and give my presentation.
Are there any other questions or comments from board members?
Just pretty much what everybody else is thinking, and that is, sir, thank you, and thank you for your service.
Hey, thanks for giving me the honor to talk to you guys.
Well, John?
Dominic, echo, thank you for your service. I do know a little bit about World War II, as my father-in-law was in Italy, and he was a part of the attack on Riva Ridge and Mount Belvedere. Actually, he was a part of the Midwest chapter of the 10th Mountain Division.
Okay.
And the stories that those gentlemen have told, I had the honor and the privilege of talking with many of them. What I can say and sum up what World War II veterans did was impossible. You did the impossible.
Well, I was hoping that someday I'm able to go face to face and talk to people about my experiences, where instead of reading about it, you're getting it firsthand. And this is no bull, nothing about that at all. One of the things I wish you would ask me, what do we have to eat? We had K rations, C rations, and they're ice cold with wax paper around them. The only way we could eat them is to heat them up. So we took our helmets off, shoveled all the snow into your helmet, made a little fire, took the liner out first, put the snow in the shell, and we heat up our meals. That's how we ate. So that was, and one other little thing, has anybody ever heard of the Stars and Stripes? The Stars and Stripes newspaper. You must have heard it, right? I've heard of it. Yeah. Okay, the Stars and Stripes is a 4-page, 8.5 by 11 of the up-to-date of the war. Nothing confidential, but they would just kind of tell the troops on the line where we are at that point in time of the war. We would wait for that paper called the Stars and Stripes. We would fight for that thing to get it. We didn't get it to read it. We got it to put them in our goddamn shoes because we had holes in our shoes. And we're walking in mud, and we're walking in snow, we're walking in water. And we would fight to get these papers and wrap it around our feet and then put them in our shoes. But that's the way it was.
Well,
Anyhow, I can go on and on with this story.
well, it is an honor to have you here to share the story. Didn't I tell you this was going to be an interesting?
Love it.
I only
Oh,
took
Laura?
I only took about 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay, Laura?
Dominic, I just wanted to say what a great pleasure it was to hear your story. My father was in World War II, and I didn't get to hear any stories. I think I was just too young to ask. All I know is he was in World War II. I don't know
You
much.
say World War II, there's a lot of divisions, a lot of divisions of it. So what was
Right.
it, infantry, Navy?
I don't even know that. It's sad that I don't know that much. But what I was going to ask you is if when you leave, if you could give Kim Geezer the information of where my son's in the Army, and I'd like to get that publication that's going to be coming out that's only for the Army personnel. So if you could give her that information, I'd love for my son to get that so that he could read it.
I
That-
have a copy of one of the publications that came out, and
Yeah, we'll get that
Yeah, we'll give
information
her-
for
yeah,
you. We'll
later,
definitely
yeah.
get that
Yeah,
information
that's why I asked,
for you.
yeah, if you could just give it to
Yeah.
Kim, and we'll,
page here, it's got all what your boy would want to hear.
that would be absolutely fabulous.
We'll get,
Sorry, Phil.
Thank you
Take a
so
no, don't,
much.
your story was inspiring, as trustee LaRocca said,
Kim,
you did the impossible, and to all of us here, you're a hero. We are glad you shared your story, and we're proud to have you come and share it with us, and that you live in Carroll Stream. So thank you very much. And would you honor us with a photo with the group?
It'd be my pleasure.
come on. You might get another ribbon for that
I
bandage.
like it.
Are you kidding?
It gives you character.
I got so many stories I could tell you guys, but
You come in right here next to Mayor.
yes, sir.
You guys have come to a great meeting.
I'm privileged.
I'm Italian, too.
No.
He's all excited, I'm Italian.
You're gonna hold that, right?
Oh, look at
you
that.
wanna hold that?
Oh, sure, absolutely. There you are.
We're honored to have you here, believe me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Okay, boss.
Come back. You take care of yourself.
Okay.
Thank you. We're free because of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I'd knock on the head. Didn't do me so good.
I expect my wife to come home safely.
I'll tell my daughter that I met your comrade.
Yes.
What a
School.
tough wife he's got, huh?
Okay, thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll, if you want a copy of that, you're more than welcome
I
to
will
have
get
it.
that, thank you.
Again, I'm sorry to mess up your meeting.
No, you didn't mess anything up.
We just made a highlight.
Yeah.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you.
Gonna get mine too for me and then give me a kiss?
No, he was afraid I was gonna sit down in a chair, wouldn't have been there.
Thank you, young man.
I know.
Or what?
Even with the pen.
That's, I know.
That's what I was just saying. It's amazing to me how, I've done a couple other flights. The wide variety of health conditions these days.
I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, well, it sounded like he was just. It's unbelievable. That would be perfect then.
Night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.